Placing the barrel of my revolver against my temple, I wonder what death will bring to me. Will it just be nothingness? Some people say that when you die, you go to the Hotel Paradise. Yes, the Hotel Paradise. Maybe that's the true nature of our heavenly reward. Imagine golden beaches bathed in the welcoming warmth of a tropical sun, natives kind and friendly, bubbling with good humor, always strumming their ukuleles, composing extemporaneous songs for the delight of their guests. Here, freely given is the kind, open human warmth, so rare back on Earth. Late-night bonfires illuminate happy-faced guests writhing and wriggling to tropical rhythms. Young and old included celebrate with food, drink, music, and camaraderie. The hotel itself is a palace of pleasure, the rooms fitted with huge four-poster beds, great rattan chests bearing fragrant soaps and powders, and lazy ceiling fans turning in perfumed air. The swimming pool, a vast white and blue expanse, is immaculately clean. Attendants with drinks, towels, books, and daily newspapers move amongst the guests. And there is a championship golf course, a replica of St. Andrews in Scotland, with a resident pro, four-time PGA champion Chub Chippen. The grass is carefully manicured into a carpet-like expanse. The sand and water traps are architecturally perfect, designed by a team of Shinto priests who have mastered the zen of golf. The tennis courts, both clay and grass, are drawn from the idealized plans of Wimbledon and Forest Hills. They are rolled, chalked, and swept on an hourly basis. Here, the club pros, Benito Lukash and Sleepy Steinwalker, give free tennis lessons. And I can play late into the night because tennis is a 24-hour affair. The courts flood-lit by sodium vapor lamps so that the sun never sets on this sporting field. And polo is available to those from Aspen, Palm Beach, Oxbridge, Kensington-on-Tyne, and Hamilton, Bermuda. I can see ponies, their tails bobbed and manes combed into spikes, bearing horsemen wearing jodhpurs, striped shirts, Rolex watches on left wrists, and Ralph Lauren rough-wear footgear, swinging mallets. There's a small area where lawn chairs have been set up, next to a pavilion from which champagne, caviar, and cucumber sandwiches are dispensed. And there, women in wide-brimmed hats and men in flannel suits observe with amusement the proceedings of the day's sporting event. Eternal life at the Hotel Paradise is exquisite, elegant, serene. And then, one day, I go down to the swimming pool, and the water is brackish. A slick of green algae covers the surface of the pool, and there seems to be a blood spot near the diving board. I note that the golf course, which used to be immaculately maintained, is overgrown with weeds, mangled by half-track vehicle ruts. The clubhouse, fallen into disrepair, now serves fast food. The tennis courts haven't been rolled. As a matter of fact, they're being used as an industrial dump site and reek of toxic chemicals. And the dining room in the hotel looks as if it's been hit by a tornado. Tables are overturned, chairs smashed, cutlery thrown at odd angles onto the floor, food being served from troughs, ladled with huge wooden spatulas directly onto the tabletops. I see my waiter, his satin cummerbund wilted, wearing a 2 days' growth of beard, drinking from a liquor bottle. I return to my room and find that the toilet is backed up with human sewage. My socks have come back shredded. The bed has been left unmade. There are crumbs on the sheets, and room service fails to answer the phone. I step out into the hallway and find it filled with muggers, grifters, roving gangs of hoodlums smashing shop windows in the mezzanine with 35-pound chains. Boutiques have been looted, some burned out, others simply vandalized, their mannequins garishly defaced. Knifings, rapes, and beatings take place in corridors echoing with music from ghetto blasters. The members of the hotel string quartet, who used to play in the lobby in the late afternoon, have been garroted and stapled to the wall with huge metal rivets. The harpist has been forced through the strings of his instrument and lies in slices on the floor. And the hotel security staff, not wanting to risk injury by putting themselves between guests and harm's way, flatten themselves against walls and hide behind the metal doors of the hotel security office. Some, affecting crutches and disguises, attempt to sneak off the hotel grounds. And there's also a guerrilla insurgency, raining shells on the hotel from nearby mountains. In the town, tourists are shot down in the street at random. Doctors from the International Aid Mission, religious workers, and school teachers are being abducted and gratuitously murdered, hanged upside down from trees and lampposts. And the local population that remains loyal to the government is being dragged from their homes, lined up, and summarily executed. And I'm thinking, wait a second, I'm dead. I'm at the Hotel Paradise. What's going on here? And I go to the airport to try to catch a plane off the island. But the guerrillas have taken it over, so there's no way of getting a commercial flight. Then I rush down to the harbor, only to see ships bombed and sunk in their place, the harbor mined, and beyond the perimeter, men in speedboats race in crazy zigzag patterns, brandishing heavy machine guns and firing recoilless rifles into the air. There is widespread looting, murder, complete anarchy. I hide under the burnt-out wreck of a tractor-trailer overturned on the highway. And I'm thinking, I'm dead. This is not what I had in mind. My island paradise has turned into a nightmare. Death is the dancing mirage at the bottom of the driveway, the irredeemable coupon, the final handshake, the least welcome visitor, the cruelest joke of all. Death can be fastidious, or sloppy, prissy, or a mess. Death can sneak up on you, or reserve its place in advance. Death is forever a great consolation and a consolation prize. Death is the last thing you'll ever do. Death is nothing. Tangible negativity. Immersion in emptiness. Death has no color, no sound, no substance, no mass, no hairstyle. Death is the pinhole in the space station, a hairline fracture in a rotor blade, a flat tire on a rain-swept highway. Death is the hand that reaches up out of the toilet and grabs you by your large intestine. Death makes you stop and think, makes you wonder, makes you less attractive, makes you a member of an ever-growing majority, a member of the silent majority. Death shortens the pleasure principle and sings an endless song in rounds. Death is an old pair of driving goggles lying cracked along Route 9 in Huntley, New Jersey. Death dreams of slow-motion embryonic passageways, of frustrated spermatozoa, of hot chocolate served by a bony arm. Death dreams of the unblinking eye, of the tainted goat, of a giant amusement park, Shadowland, the final place of pandemonium. Death has the face of a friendly scoutmaster, of a furiously betrayed child, of the rejected lover. Death can have the ecstatic expression of the religious zealot. Death is a foreign-born cab driver spouting a flow of incomprehensible curses and venom, leaning on his horn, stomping on his accelerator, weaving wildly through city traffic. Death is a tall, willowy woman standing under a street lamp, a cigarette dangling from her ruby lips, wearing a beret, a short dress, stiletto heels, the seam of her stocking slightly askew, smiling. And yet there's something about her eyes, a crusty yellow scum. Death can stand shrieking below your window. It can hammer at the door frame, kick at the outer guardway, and lean on your doorbell. Death asks for the check before you've finished eating, asks for payment in full, asks you to accept its terms. Death is a riddle, a conundrum, a mystery, a paradox, an enigma, a box within a box. Death is the tunnel, at the end of the light. Death is a bridge, as an abridgment. A bridge meant to shorten your span.
My high school gym teacher was the most oppressive, out-front, fascist personality it's ever been my misfortune to encounter at such close quarters. He was really a brutal man and outrageous in his conduct. And the thing I particularly remember, and the thing that led me to hate him, was, and this was not hating on behalf of myself, but this was in a sense of justice on behalf of someone else, that there was one person in our class who was very fat, a grossly overweight kid who was, obviously couldn't help himself at that age. This was junior high, high school. And the gym teacher used to lie in wait for this kid when he came out of the shower, when we were all in the locker room, and when this kid would come naked out of the shower, the gym teacher would leap out from behind the lockers and jump on top of this kid, throw him to the floor, sit on his stomach, and this kid, being large and grossly obese, had huge overdeveloped breasts, and the gym teacher would take a hold of his breasts in his two hands and squeeze them and shake them and make all the other kids gather around in a circle, and the teacher would say, look at these, ha ha ha. This fat kid would be lying on the floor just crying and weeping his eyes out, and the gym teacher just showed no mercy. And this really woke my sense of injustice and really rage at this whole situation, that a man could be an authority and get away with this. But of course, at that age, it didn't occur to me to try to turn him in or something, but I adopted a very non-cooperative attitude in gym class, and basically I just turned my back on physical activity at that point in my life, and refused to be helpful in any team sports. Was generally a sort of a conscientious objector to phys ed. And I think the gym teacher felt my hostility, and he didn't single me out for cruelty, but he treated me with sort of the contempt that he treated people who weren't jocks. And, the irony of this is, that as we passed from junior high into high school, this fat kid became the biggest supporter of the athletic things. They used to have a kid who wasn't particularly good in athletics, but who would be the manager of the team and just follow them around everywhere and gopher for them and do their flunky kind of things and be a general enthusiast. And that was his role. He was the manager of all the teams, and he loved the gym teacher. He just followed him everywhere and made haste to do his bidding before he was even asked to do it. And to me, there was, I guess, a lesson in that that perhaps I was mistaken to hate somebody on somebody else's behalf. I mean, if this kid couldn't hate him for his own sake, then I felt a little silly out there hating this guy who hadn't done anything to me. It came to be that there was a lot of tension between the fat boy and me. As the years went by, I just couldn't stand his way of being. And he began to get on my nerves because he wanted me to be more of an athletic, enthusiast like he was. He'd catch me in the halls and he'd say, "Oh, well, George didn't see you at the game, and when you gonna come out and show a little spirit, George? And come on, give us some help, George. Let's get out there. Let's do something, George. Come on, George." I couldn't take it anymore, and it finally came to a head in the locker room, ironically, as we were coming out of the shower, and he, in his haste to go and slap one of the football players on the butt with his towel or to do some other ludicrous kind of locker room thing, he sort of pushed by me and knocked me into a radiator, and I went for him. And before I knew what I was really about, I had him down on the floor, and I was punching him uncontrollably, and the gym teacher came in and pulled me off and said, "Come on, George, let him alone. Let him alone." You know, he may not be the prettiest kid in the school, but he's got a lot of spirit.
What people with aggression normally need in our society and in other societies, certainly in more antique societies, is targets, victims, to bring out the suppressed aggression that is driving them crazy, that is simply creating a pressure upon their lives. If you give them a target or a victim, you make them healthier human beings. They know what to look for. They don't have to look around frustratedly at each other, wondering whether that person or the other person is going to be is a proper victim or a proper target. We need to bring people face to face with the life-death issues. And the sooner and the more vigorously we can do that, the sooner those things which are worth preserving for future generations will become more in evidence. They will be created by people who are aware that their lives are worth saving.
Of course, there's a contradiction directly implicit in what you're saying. You're saying that to bring people face to face with life and death situations is to create an atmosphere filled with death.
And filled with life, too. You have to realize that once one has preserved one's life or saved another's life, one is aware of life and the value of life.
Yes, and you can also say once one has destroyed someone else's life, or one's life has been destroyed, one could say in the abstract sense that something has been preserved.
I'm looking out the window, and it's a pretty heavy scene out there. They're breaking into the supermarket. They seem to be trying to loot the hardware store, and I know they'd like to get into this building, and I think that we have no other choice but to do some shooting from up here, just in order to give them the idea that this is not a building to mess with.
Do you want me to get the stuff?
Yeah, give me some kind of automatic rifle, and I want to load it, all right?
Okay, hang on
Not the shotgun.
Hang on a sec, let me get it for you.
Oh, man, things are definitely getting
I'm
worse.
looking.
Yeah, okay, as fast as you
Hold
can,
on.
honey, because...
Okay, I gotta find the ammunition.
all right, and I see people I know. This is the irony of the situation here. I'm going to be shooting people
Here,
I know.
I found it, I got it loaded.
Okay, fast as you can, don't panic. Can you believe that they're having the policeman's ball tonight of all nights in the year?
Climb up carefully, please.
Yeah. Hold the chair, would you?
Mm-hmm, here.
All right. I'm going to pick off the young guy in the lead. Do we know that guy?
No.
All right. I have no choice. Here goes. Well, I hit him. I think I hit him, or else
Oh, George.
maybe he just stumbled. And, they're all... It looks like his leg is shattered. These things are very accurate. I had no idea. I thought it was... I never had this much luck at a shooting gallery.
Well, people and targets are very similar, really, when you come right down to it.
Right there, if you look where I'm pointing, you see a very typical example of how things work in this society. That there's a young fella coming out of the supermarket with an arm full of groceries that he's personally looted, and he's being held up by another person, and it's being taken away from him. So what?
Look, he's going back in, too.
He's going to go get some more.
Yeah.
And the second guy is walking away with the stuff he originally looted, which is an image of the thief robbing the thief.
It's the cycle of thievery.
Or with this cycle of crime,
Yeah.
which is what maintains the order of things exactly as they are forever and ever. Amen. I'll tell you, it breaks my heart. The whole arrangement here is so obscene, so literally obscene, that you have rich people who just seem to make a point of what they call conspicuous consumption. It's just flaunting what they have so that other people are going to feel worse about not having it. And of course, this leads to the kind of scene we're involved in right here.
The fact is that as long as we have a society that is unequal, that is unfair, that is unjust, we are going to have some form of crime as a response to that. And unless we go right to that problem, we are a society that is in fact in the process of destroying ourselves merely through becoming so defensive that in fact we will explode ourselves. We will implode, if you like.
You know, there will always be haves and have-nots. If the huge underclass was eliminated, then among the have class, a new have-not movement would spring up.
There are two prevalent economic systems in our world today. There's the capitalist system and the socialist system. In the capitalist system, you can explore the depths of your resources and apply your individual techniques on the system and acquire things and possess things and advance your status within the society and the social structure and the economic structure. You can earn more money. You can have more things, more goods. In the socialist system, standing in contradistinction, the individual is protected, is given what he needs to survive, but at the same time, he is not allowed to progress past a certain point. But he is not allowed to slip below a certain point. He is given health care, he is given education, he is given a job, he is given a place within the society from which he cannot stray without going through various bureaucratic folderol that makes it very, very difficult for him to move. In the socialist system, the price that you pay to be taken care of is freedom. In the capitalist system, you have the freedom, but you also have the freedom to fail, to slip below the level of adequate care. And maybe at that point you should be shifted over into the socialist system and be cared for and sacrifice your freedom.
We've recently provided full detachment to protect the facility of a leading research institute whose work involves animal experimentation. Substances are injected into the eyes of rabbits and hamsters to test dilational functions. Electrodes are implanted into the brains of monkeys to see how behavior can be modified. Dogs are forced to inhale through masks massive quantities of cigar and cigarette smoke and exhaust fumes to test toxicity tolerance. Crossbreed organ transplants are performed on a daily basis. Mice and gerbils are slowly frozen to test thermal tolerance. Calves have their limbs amputated and organs removed and then replaced with prosthetic devices. Thousands and thousands of different animals are used in this experimentation process, and the entire facility is surrounded and protected by a full detachment of SDS-trained canines and handlers.
So you're recreating the old city-state robber baron sort of mentality where anybody with enough money can create his own duchy, can create his own little area that is impenetrable to anybody.
But what bothers me, though, is the comparison between the psychophilosophical viewpoint of the men in these small patrols, armies. Your phrase for them was
Security force.
Security force. These forces are similar to perhaps the samurai forces in in ancient Japan. It occurs to me, however, that the spiritual orientation of these present-day security forces is focused upon the man with the money or the particular trainer. It's an extremely secular consciousness compared to the spiritual consciousness of the samurai, where the lord had more than just money. He had a certain kind of importance that transcended the money that he might have.
I think it's more likely that one could describe these groups as more akin really to the death squads of Central America rather than the samurai, the band of samurai in feudal Japan.
Well, I don't think that's fair at all to call them death squads. They are defensive forces.
Yes, but they could be subverted much more easily by virtue of the fact that their allegiance is determined by something that is flimsy. They follow the paycheck.
I myself have spent some time in some of these highly protected houses. I lived for one summer with an extremely wealthy manufacturer who had some very precious artifacts, antiques, valuable furniture, and all kinds of things, plus a great deal of electronic protection equipment. And I myself felt like a prisoner in this man's house when I was there, particularly in the evening, because at a certain point, when the human vigilance is low, in other words, when everyone goes to sleep, these systems are then turned on. And if, for example, I remember one summer evening, I forgot the system and opened the window slightly to get a breath of fresh air, setting off a siren, an alarm, a gas system, and I found that there were large spikes appearing all over, coming up from underneath. And I was a prisoner in this fellow's house. I couldn't even go for a little walk on the patio.
And the price of vigilance is freedom.
Well, exactly. The price of freedom is vigilance, I think you mean to say.
No.
Price of
Oh, you're
vigilance
saying the
is
price of
freedom.
vigilance is imprisonment.
Yes.
That's
right.
what you're saying.
Well,
No.
a lack of freedom, in
Lack
other
of freedom.
words. A
You
lack
think
of freedom.
you pay freedom for
Right.
for
you
for-
pay with your freedom
Right.
for the vigilance.
Well, hopefully
Yeah, so
this is
in effect, what's happening is rather than put the felons behind bars, you put yourself behind bars.
only from midnight to dawn. I completely agree with you. It's an uncomfortable way to live. And who's made it uncomfortable? The perpetrator.
No, you.
The felon.
You
No,
have made it
I have only
uncomfortable.
provided material that has been requested of me by people with a problem. This society has created the problem.
If a situation developed between the private security force of a local baron against a duly elected police force controlled by the local authority. Has that ever occurred? And I'm sure it has. I'm sure the potential exists everywhere.
No, I don't think that's ever occurred. I mean,
Well,
there-
what has occurred and what's on record is the attack of one wealthy landowner with a rather large security force in a wealthy suburban suburb of a major American city. There was a neighboring estate, and I believe there was some feud. I believe it had to do with a tennis match that had happened years before that somehow or other escalated to the point where one of these estate owners actually attacked the other, and eventually a small-scale suburban war was waged, and this all happened in the course of a weekend, as I understand it. with the use of, I believe there was a tank involved in this. There was the destruction of an entire golf course.
I think you're making just too big a deal out of all this. I mean, how many times have we heard of two loud parties taking place on a Saturday night in a suburban area, and the members of the parties getting into a fist fight and throwing things at each other? I'm sure you've all heard of that, and so this was just something taken one step further.
Well, one step further is flamethrowers and anti-tank missiles.
I don't
And
believe that-
anti-personnel grenades.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and friends of Helmsley Hills. As you know, we joined together a year ago in response to the moral bankruptcy of the welfare system. A system which not only degrades the very people it claims to serve, but encourages the cycle of idleness and poverty that we see all around us. Our goal was to seek a new approach. We know that man cannot live by bread alone. He needs dignity and a sense of purpose that transcends the problems of finding something to eat or a place of shelter. In pursuit of this end, we created the Helmsley Hills Foundation, to which many of you have generously contributed. Tonight's performance represents the culmination of a year of tireless effort. On the stage behind me sits a group of people from many ethnic backgrounds who once were condemned to live in the streets of our city. Once mired in a life of hopelessness and dependency, they have now acquired a new vocation as members of a distinguished orchestra and are ready to take their places as productive members of our society. I give you the Helmsley Hills Foundation Orchestra. concert is over. We are under attack. I repeat, Helmsley Hills Manor is under siege. Will any of you gentlemen who have combat experience kindly follow the security guards? They will take you to the armory, where automatic weapons and rocket launchers are available for all of you. Please, yes, follow the security guards. Ladies, proceed to the banquet room and take up positions under the table and far away from the windows. Will the members of the orchestra please stop playing, return your instruments to the music room, and go into the kitchen, please?
speaking of theft of property, that's rather difficult. If you're talking about land, it's very hard to steal someone's land unless you have a lot of bulldozers, tractors, steam shovels, pneumatic drills. You'd need a whole work crew to literally steal someone's land. And then if you did steal someone's land, where would you take it?
And what would you leave?
That's right. Well, as they say, a hole is the only thing that the more you take away from it, the bigger it gets. Unless, of course, you're talking about usurping someone's land, in which you would, for example, move in to someone's house and take over the entire household, and eventually either just dismiss them, send them away, and then, as they say, possession is 9 points of the law, 9/10 of the law. You would then have their house. This has actually happened to me on one occasion, where my brother-in-law moved in and literally took over the house. It changed the locks on the door, changed the arrangement of the furniture, the appliances, repainted the house, and eventually I could not even find the house any longer. He had changed it so thoroughly. He also moved it. He turned it 90 degrees, so it made it completely unrecognizable to me. And for months I had no place to live. If two people see a pretty stone and one wants it and the other wants it, you have possible theft right there.
Not necessarily. Usually, just the stronger person takes it.
Correct. Well,
That's not really
is that
theft.
Why not?
Because there's only one stone and there are two people. So whoever is the stronger takes the stone, and that's the natural form of that.
Well, how does that apply to the present? What
Because
if,
when that
if a
person-
theft, if a robber who's stronger than me fights with me and takes my wallet, does that give him the right to my wallet because he's stronger?
I don't know whether it gives him the right, but it gives him the wallet.
Well, if he has the
So
wallet, does
there
he
is-
then have the right to it? I mean, as I
there
say,
is
his
some-
possession. If he has it, then is no law broken because it's his?
No, there are all sorts of laws broken, but I'm saying that once you get rid of the idea of property, everything that exists here merely exists here, and it goes on. I mean, once the stronger man takes the stone, when the stronger man falters, grows old, the stone will be taken by someone else. The stone still, however, exists.
We know that gold is valuable. It has certain properties that make it relatively useful, but ultimately its value is based on how little of it there is. But I'm not talking about that. That to me has a certain logic to it. I'm talking about the irrational value that someone puts on something just because one puts it on something. One values something more than something else, and I don't know whether that can be regulated or determined.
You're speaking of sentimental value, not something that is immediately perceivable by someone else in an average crowd of 5 people. If you had 5 people in a room and said, point your finger at the most valuable thing on the table, and there were 5 things, each of which had what we might consider to be sentimental value, there would be no common agreement. A letter, a photograph, a flower, 4 toothpicks in a jar, a shell from the seashore, a child's toy drum, a piece of broken glass, a nose flute, a piece of acoustical tile broken from the ceiling of a great cathedral. How could you bring people to a room in which these objects were placed, who would then determine the relative value of these objects whose value obviously is only sentimental? It would be difficult and near to impossible.
entire city, our downtown, at the policeman's ball,
Right.
with the mayor, with the
Right.
city council,
Right.
cultural affairs people, and
It's a celebration of violence. It's a sort of a obscene tribal ritual, in my opinion. It's to making a fetish of this day-to-day bloodshed that goes on and on.
you can't hardly blame the people for watching television. Even in circumstances like this, they really need to escape.
It's an escape.
Well, it's better than
Escape.
looking out the window, and
Yeah.
it's
Although it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's people shooting each other. That's what they're going to do. Or athletes drinking beer and people shooting each other, and then some more
but
athletes
poor
drinking
people
beer.
have poor people have no choice but to watch this.
Yeah, there are good cultural things. There are valuable. There's a beautiful play, downtown in this city right now. Beautiful play about a large group of poor people, starving people, who get together and cause a revolution. And the revolution actually happens on stage with music and the most magnificent performances. And this play is $100 a ticket. We've had to make the hard choice that many of the other people in this community have had to make, and we've taken up the gun, and we're involved. And I'd like to say that I have really always tried. I'm trying to aim low. I'm trying to aim for legs. I'm not trying to shoot people on the abdomen or the head. I'm trying to shoot people in the legs and disable them, hopefully temporarily. I don't even want to make people permanently unemployable, because I would like to, following this, I would like to return to some job counseling, trying to connect people up with jobs. Denny, let me have the binoculars. There's something going on.
Just a minute, they're in the file cabinet.
Yeah, okay. They're forming some...
Okay, can you hold the
kind of-
thing? I gotta just hold it against you while I open the drawer.
This may be a tactical unit or something. They have some kind of...
Can you help me with this?
All right, just a minute. Okay. Yeah. Can you believe it? It's TV news team.
Oh no.
Yeah. They're here to cover this newsworthy event. They probably just left the policeman's ball to come over here. Wait.
They are crazy to come here with that equipment.
Now look, wait. You see what? Look across the street. Yeah, where the guy's watching TV? No, see here. Hold the binoculars. See what he's watching?
Oh no. No, that is wild. That is wild. He is watching the news team coverage of what's outside his window.
His own window.
Is so ironic.
That's
That is-
typical. That really says it.
And the guy has not gotten up from his chair to look out the window to see what's really happening.
He may be
But
asleep.
he sees it on TV. No, he's not asleep.
Yeah.
He's eating. He's sitting right there eating popcorn.
Last night, I dined at Mickey D's. I had a polystyrene shake. When I got up from the counter, I had a bellyache. Caught the moonlight on a switchblade in the corner of my eye. There's no ground left to stand on. It's time to say goodbye. So glad that all of you could come tonight. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Drive safely. Remember, drive safely. Don't get shot. Don't get shot tonight. You don't want to get shot. Don't get shot tonight. You don't want to get shot. Shot. I wish I could do that, that's not easy to do, That guy does it with his own tongue, inside his mouth. things that have a lot of rhythm, because I think rhythm is very important to people, and it's very important to people because it makes them This is not bad stuff, you know, if you really think about it. This is very profound.